The Ashes is a Test cricket series played between England and Australia. The Ashes are regarded as being held by the team that most recently won the Test series. The term originated in a satirical obituary published in a British newspaper, The Sporting Times, immediately after Australia's 1882 victory at the Oval, the first Test win on English soil. The obituary stated that English cricket had died, and the body will be cremated and the ashes taken to Australia. The mythical Ashes immediately became associated with the 1882–83 series played in Australia, before which the English captain Evo Bligh had vowed to regain those ashes. The English media therefore dubbed the tour the Quest to Regain the Ashes. After England had won 2 of the 3 tests on the tour, a small urn was presented to Bligh by a group of Melbourne women including Florence Morphy, whom Bligh married within a year. The contents of the urn are reputed to be the ashes of a wooden bale, and were humorously described as the ashes of Australian cricket. It is not clear whether that tiny silver urn is the same as the small terracotta urn given to the MCC by Bligh's widow after his death in 1927. The urn has never been the official trophy of the Ashes series, having been a personal gift to Bligh. However, replicas of the urn are often held aloft by victorious teams as a symbol of the victory in an Ashes series. Since the 1998–99 Ashes series, a Waterford crystal representation of the Ashes urn has been presented to the winners of an Ashes series as the official trophy of that series, whichever side holds the ashes. The urn remains in the MCC Museum at Lord's. It has however been taken to Australia to be put on touring display on 2 occasions, as part of the Australian bicentenary celebrations in 1988, and to accompany the Ashes series in 2006–07. An Ashes series is traditionally of 5 tests, hosted in turn by England and Australia at least once every 4 years. As of August 2015, England hold the Ashes, having won 3 of the 5 tests in the 2015 Ashes series. Overall, Australia has won 32 series. England 32 and 5 series have been drawn. 1882 Origins. The first Test match between England and Australia was played in Melbourne, Australia, in 1877, though the Ashes legend started later, after the 9th Test, played in 1882. On the tour of England that year, the Australians played just 1 Test, at the Oval in London. It was a low-scoring affair on a difficult wicket. Australia made a mere 63 runs in its first innings, and England, led by A.N. Hornby, took a 38-run lead with a total of 101. In the second innings, the Australians, boosted by a spectacular 55 runs off 60 deliveries from Hugh Massey, managed 122, which left England only 85 runs to win. The Australians were greatly demoralised by the manner of the second innings collapse, but fast bowler Fred Spofford, spurred on by the gamesmanship of his opponents, in particular W.G. Grace, refused to give in. "This thing can be done," he declared. Spofford went on to devastate the English batting, taking his final 4 wickets for only 2 runs to leave England just 8 runs short of victory. When Ted Peat, England's last batsman, came to the crease, his side needed just 10 runs to win, but Peat managed only 2 before he was bowled by Harry Boyle. An astonished Oval crowd fell silent, struggling to believe that England could possibly have lost to a colony on home soil. When it finally sank in, the crowd swarmed onto the field, cheering loudly and cheering Boyle and Spofford to the pavilion. When Pete returned to the pavilion, he was reprimanded by his captain for not allowing his partner, Charles Studd, to get the runs. Pete humorously replied, "I had no confidence in Mr. Studd, sir, so thought I had better do my best." The momentous defeat was widely recorded in the British press, which praised the Australians for their plentiful pluck, and berated the Englishmen for the lack thereof. A celebrated poem appeared in Punch on Saturday, the 9th of September. The first verse, quoted most frequently, reads, "On the 31st of August, in the Charles Alcock-edited magazine Cricket, a weekly record of the game, there appeared a mock obituary, sacred to the memory of England's supremacy in the cricket field, which expired on the 29th day of August, at the Oval. Its end was Pete. On the 2nd of September, a more celebrated mock obituary, written by Reginald Shirley Brooks, appeared in the Sporting Times. It read, "In affectionate remembrance of English cricket, which died at the Oval, on the 29th of August 1882, deeply lamented by a large circle of sorrowing friends and acquaintances, R.I.P. N.B. The body will be cremated and the ashes taken to Australia." Ivo Bly promised that on 1882-83 tour of Australia, he would, as England's captain, recover those ashes. He spoke of them several times over the course of the tour, and the Australian media quickly caught on. The three-match series resulted in a 2-1 win to England, notwithstanding a fourth match, won by the Australians, whose status remains a matter of ardent dispute. In the 20 years following Bly's campaign, the term "The Ashes" largely disappeared from public use. There is no indication that this was the accepted name for the series, at least not in England. The term became popular again in Australia first when George Giffen, in his memoirs, used the term as if it were well known. The true and global revitalization of interest in the concept dates from 1903, when Pelham Warner took a team to Australia with the promise that he would regain the Ashes, as had been the case on Bly's tour 20 years before. The Australian media latched fervently onto the term, and, this time, it stuck. Having fulfilled his promise, Warner published a book entitled How We Recovered the Ashes. Although the origins of the term are not referred to in the text, the title served to revive public interest in the legend. The first mention of the Ashes in Wisden Cricketer's Almanac occurs in 1905, while Wisden's first account of the legend is in the 1922 edition. As it took many years for the name "The Ashes" to be given to ongoing series between England and Australia, there was no concept of there being a representation of the Ashes being presented to the winners. As late as 1925, the following verse appeared in the Cricketer's Annual. Nevertheless, several attempts had been made to embody the Ashes in a physical memorial. Examples include one presented to Warner in 1904, another to Australian captain M.A. Noble in 1909, and another to Australian captain W.M. Woodfull in 1934. The oldest, and the one to enjoy enduring fame, was the one presented to Bly, later Lord Darnley, during the 1882-83 tour. The precise nature of the origin of this urn is matter of dispute. Based on a statement by Darnley in 1894, it was believed that a group of Victorian ladies, including Darnley's later wife Florence Morphy, made the presentation after the victory in the third test in 1883. More recent researchers, in particular Ronald Willis and Joy Munns, have studied the tour in detail and concluded that the presentation was made after a private cricket match played over Christmas 1882 when the English team were guests of Sir William Clarke at his property, Rupertswood, in Sunbury, Victoria. This was before the matches had started. The prime evidence for this theory was provided by a descendant of Clark. In August 1926, Ivo Bly displayed the Ashes urn at the Morning Post decorative art exhibition held in the Central Hall, Westminster. He made the following statement about how he was given the urn. When in the autumn the English 11 went to Australia, it was said that they had come to Australia to fetch the Ashes. England won 2 out of the 3 matches played against Murdoch's Australian 11, and after the third match some Melbourne ladies put some ashes into a small urn and gave them to me as captain of the English 11. A more detailed account of how the ashes were given to Ivo Bly was outlined by his wife, the Countess of Darnley, in 1930 during a speech at a cricket luncheon. Her speech was reported by the London Times as follows. In 1882, she said, it was first spoken of when the Sporting Times, after the Australians had thoroughly beaten the English at the Oval, wrote an obituary in affectionate memory of English cricket, whose demise was deeply lamented, and the body would be cremated and taken to Australia. Her husband, then Ivo Bly, took a team to Australia in the following year. Punch had a poem containing the words, "When Ivo comes back with the urn," and when Ivo Bly wiped out the defeat, Lady Clark, wife of Sir W. J. Clark, who entertained the English so lavishly, found a little wooden urn, burned a bale, put the ashes in the urn, and wrapping it in a red velvet bag, put it into her husband's hands. He had always regarded it as a great treasure. There is another statement which is not totally clear made by Lord Darnley in 1921 about the timing of the presentation of the urn. He was interviewed in his home at Cobham Hall by Montague Grover, and the report of this interview was as follows. This urn was presented to Lord Darnley by some ladies of Melbourne after the final defeat of his team, and before he returned with the members to England. He made a similar statement in 1926. The report of this statement in the Brisbane Courier was as follows. The proudest possession of Lord Darnley is an earthenware urn containing the ashes which were presented to him by Melbourne residents when he captained the Englishmen in 1882. Though the team did not win, the urn containing the ashes was sent to him just before leaving Melbourne. The contents of the urn are also problematic. They were variously reported to be the remains of a stumped bale of the outer casing of a bull, but in 1998 Darnley's 82-year-old daughter-in-law said they were the remains of her mother-in-law's veil, casting a further layer of doubt on the matter. However, during the tour of Australia in 2006-07, the MCC official accompanying the urn said the veil legend had been discounted, and it was now 95% certain that the urn contains the ashes of a cricket bale. Speaking on Channel 9 TV on the 25th of November 2006, he said X-rays of the urn had shown the pedestal and handles were cracked, and repair work had to be carried out. The urn is made of terracotta and is about 6 inches tall and may originally have been a perfume jar. A label containing a 6-line verse is pasted on the urn. This is the 4th verse of a song lyric published in the Melbourne Punch on the 1st of February 1883. In February 1883, just before the disputed 4th Test, a velvet bag made by Mrs. Anne Fletcher, the daughter of Joseph Hines Clark and Marion Wright, both of Dublin, was given to Bly to contain the urn. During Darnley's lifetime there was little public knowledge of the urn, and no record of a published photograph exists before 1921. The Illustrated London News published this photo in January 1921. When Darnley died in 1927, his widow presented the urn to the Marylebone Cricket Club, and that was the key event in establishing the urn as the physical embodiment of the legendary Ashes. MCC first displayed the urn in the Long Room at Lord's Cricket Ground, and since 1953 in the MCC Cricket Museum at the ground. MCC's wish for it to be seen by as wide a range of cricket enthusiasts as possible has led to its being mistaken for an official trophy. It is in fact a private memento, and for this reason it is never awarded to either England or Australia, but is kept permanently in the MCC Cricket Museum, where it can be seen together with the specially made red and gold velvet bag and the scorecard of the 1882 match. Because the urn itself is so delicate, it has been allowed to travel to Australia only twice. The first occasion was in 1988 for a museum tour as part of the Australian bicentenary celebrations. The second was for the 2006 7th Ashes series. The urn arrived on the 17th of October 2006, going on display at the Museum of Sydney. It then toured to other states, with the final appearance at the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery on the 21st of January 2007. In the 1990s, given Australia's long dominance of the Ashes and the popular acceptance of the Darnley urn as the Ashes, the idea was mooted that the Victoria's team should be awarded the urn as a trophy and allowed to retain it until the next series, as its condition is fragile and it is a prized exhibit at the MCC Cricket Museum. The MCC would not agree. Furthermore, in 2002, Bligh's great-great-grandson Lord Clifton, the heir apparent to the earldom of Darnley, argued that the Ashes urn should not be returned to Australia because it belonged to his family and was given to the MCC only for safekeeping. As a compromise, the MCC commissioned a trophy in the form of a larger replica of the urn in Waterford crystal, to award to the winning team of each series from 1998-99. This is known as the Ashes Trophy. This did little to diminish the status of the Darnley urn as the most important icon in cricket, the symbol of this old and keenly fought contest.